So I'm Savannah McGee. I'm 20 years old. I'm originally from Linville, Indiana, but I now live in Owensboro. I started going to the gym, getting into the gym roughly around 2 years ago. Then slowly got into bodybuilding, did my first show. I actually did my first show in Louisville last October. Just got done with last two shows in May. I'm going to school for business marketing and then trying to get my certified personal trainer certificate as well. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. I also am the event coordinator for Active Nutrition and Supplements. Their first store kind of opened up in Evansville. We are starting to expand into Vincennes, Owensboro, Robinson, Illinois, Terre Haute. So it's been nice having their support as well, working for them.
So what got you into the world of fitness?
Growing up, I've been an athlete my whole life. I played softball from the time I could walk. I had dreams of playing in college, and I ended up having 3 surgeries. I had reconstructive surgery on my foot, and then COVID kind of hit our senior year. So that dream everything went out the window there. And then I started when COVID hit. I mean, it was a bad year for everyone. I think we can all kind of agree on that. All my friends were always older than me. So I started hanging out with them. I started partying and getting into stuff. And one day I was just tired of not feeling good and always feeling like bad about myself and this and that. And so I got a membership, and I would just look up videos. I would look up stuff on the internet, try and kind of figure out and do my own thing. Then I went to Indiana Muscle in May of 2021, and everyone asked, "Oh, do you compete? Do you compete?" I met a couple of the people that sponsor me now, and I'm like, I've never even thought of competing. I don't know what you people are talking about. I just go to the gym and eat healthy. That's what I like to do. So then that kind of lit a spark under me and kind of went from there. So.
And how long did it take for you to, hear, do you compete, to actually taking it kind of seriously, the idea of actually competing?
Honestly, it didn't take very long. It was actually that I went to the Indiana Muscle to watch my friend compete, and just kind of watching all of them on stage, I was like, holy crap, like, I think I can do that. And then I would go around in between the shows to all the booths and everything, and everyone kept saying it. And I'm like, well, I mean, maybe I can. And that night, someone had recommended a coach. It's not the coach I'm with now, but I messaged him right away. And after that day, I got started the next week. So.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just for a second. Let me tell you about Smoking Gun Coffee. They're a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to produce a quality coffee at an affordable price. They only buy coffee from small coffee farmers around the world with a cup score of at least 85. Each batch is roasted to order for maximum freshness. They also donate a large portion of their proceeds to organizations that help local communities, veterans, first responders, or you can donate to the foundation of your choice at the checkout by going to www.smokingguncoffee.com. That's SMOKIN Gun Coffee.
Whenever that kind of initial motivation to do something, hits you, I feel like it's exciting. You're very kind of into it, but then, some time passes, however long that is. Some time passes, and maybe like a life event occurs, or maybe even something as simple as like, you oversleep your alarm or whatever, you have a bad day at work, something happens. And it makes you start questioning, like, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing for me, and maybe I just need to kind of dial it back. Maybe I just need to, be more realistic. Things like that start to enter your thoughts. Like, I'm sure at some point that had to enter your thoughts, but like, when did that idea or that thought of like dialing it back, or maybe this isn't for me, enter your head?
So I started like training with a coach, getting a plan going, actually, doing what I'm told, not just kind of my own thing. Started in about June. And I would say probably that summer, it all was going good. And then when my prep started, everyone told me this is the real deal. This is going to start, like, you're going to lose people. And in my head, I'm like, okay, whatever, like, I can do it. I'll be fine. I would say probably the 4th week of my prep, I was like, my friends don't hang out with me. They don't want to, I mean, I can't go out to eat. I can't do this. I'm sitting at the dinner with because I lived with my family at the time. And I'm like, I'm sitting at the dinner table with my family eating this while they're all eating great food around me. I'm like, what did I sign up for? Like, what is going on? Like, I'm waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, and I'm sitting here watching everybody eat around me the foods that I used to enjoy. And I probably went through that for probably a good week. And then I went to a posing clinic, and I kind of got myself back on track for sure.
Do you feel like kind of being around that community helps you to kind of keep your head on straight?
Yeah, absolutely. I learned a lot my first prep. It's a lot of who you surround yourself with. At the time I was single, and I'd been single for a while, and I was really working on myself. So at times it felt kind of lonely. But when I found those people who knew the lifestyle, who were able to support me, the whole thing changed. So I do truly believe if you're going to do it, you have to have the right people around you, because you will have those people who don't understand, and they're like, it's just one meal. It's just one bite. You don't have to go to the gym for one day. I mean, you can come with that, like those little things. They don't realize like what they mean to us. Like I'm just like, it's not just one bite. Please stop. So yeah, definitely the people who you surround yourself with makes the world of difference for sure.
When it comes to science-backed supplements that taste great, 2NS is your one-stop shop. They don't just do supplements, though. They help you take your performance to the next level. 2NS was created to fuel the fighting spirit, empowering you to put fitness goals within reach. With over a combined 90 years of experience, 2NS's team of industry experts has a commitment to research, quality, development, and innovation. The body is sacred, so give it the best. Check out all 2NS has to offer at secondnaturesupplements.com.
It is kind of crazy, and I've never competed, and I've never really went through and been a part of that lifestyle. I've always been a part of, the fitness and things like that. But doing something even like 75 hard, when I did that, it was kind of the same mentality of like, can't you just like, have this one sip of this and try it? Or can't you just like, maybe you just go for like a 40-minute exercise today instead of like, or, can't you just like read just a few pages instead of the full 10? Or, it was always like, that kind of devil on your shoulder. And even without people realizing that they were that devil on your shoulder, they were always, because of course it's tempting in your mind, that temptation of like, oh, just take the easy route. Nobody's going to know, or nobody's going to care, or whatever, insert rationale here. There's always, there's always that reason why you should take the easy route, or why you shouldn't, get up at 4:30 and do your workout, or why you shouldn't, meal prep for a couple hours and just order some food. It's a lot easier.
Yep, absolutely.
So whenever you took your fitness to the next level of doing it, as bodybuilding and taking it to that lifestyle, what were some of the things that you noticed? And you kind of mentioned a few there, like the kind of the thing we're talking about, the temptations of taking the easy route and things like that. But were there other things that you found that you maybe didn't foresee as as obstacles or as challenges for you, that you, once you got into it and you started, a few weeks in, a few months in, that you started realizing, hey, this is a lot different than just, going to the gym and eating healthy?
Yeah. So I've grown up, like I said, an athlete. So I've always known what discipline was. I've always known like, oh, I don't want to go to practice today, but I have to. So always showing up. I mean, I'm not going to lie, some days was a struggle to get out of bed, but I think just being an athlete, that helped me like, no, you have to, like, you signed up for this. I'm a very big person who sets goals. And if I set a goal, I have to reach it. And I think I didn't realize how hard maybe like social media would be, because when I started my fitness journey, I was eating healthy and going to the gym and whatever on my own. When I got on social media, I'm just like, props to them. Like, they look great. I'm doing what I can. And then when I kind of flipped the switch over to bodybuilding and took it to the next level, the days I got on social media, I was like, oh, well, I don't look like that. Oh, well, this girl is 4 weeks out from a show and I don't look anything like her and I'm 4 weeks out too. So I think that part was a really big obstacle. There was a definitely towards the end of time where social media just, it had to be cut out for sure. Managing friendships, I mean, that was hard. They didn't understand. And eventually, you know, they stopped inviting me, and I get it. If I'm going to say no every single time, you know, I probably would have stopped too. But that was very hard because I'm like, oh, well, they don't even offer anymore. Like, what's going on? But looking back at it, I get it. So I think probably just like the friendships for sure. And like I said, social media was really hard. It tore me down a lot some days. You know, other days I'd post and I'd get compliments and everything, but I would definitely say social media and friendship management was definitely the hardest for me for sure.
Yeah, I think social media is such a hard one because kind of like you said, you're comparing yourself to somebody else's, you know, completely different timeline. You know, if they might have been doing this for 10 years, for even just 2 years, if you've only been doing it for one, like that's a big difference, you know? So I think you have to really learn, and not, obviously I'm not talking about you personally, but you know, a person has to learn really about how to manage, you know, manage expectations in a lot of ways, and manage kind of reality, especially during prep. I'm sure whenever your brain's kind of, you know, a little bit hazy anyway, it's tricky and it's hard to really perceive what reality versus, you know, what just is going on in your own head is. A lot of times I feel like that would be one of the most challenging aspects, whether it's social media or just looking in the mirror at yourself and thinking, you know, trying to keep a realistic kind of judgment of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you kind of got into that first prep though, you know, that I think prep to me is one of the most interesting parts of any sport because it's such a meticulous, and bodybuilding during kind of any of the phases of it is pretty meticulous, but prep, it seems like there's really nothing that compares to how everything is so important. You know, literally every minute of the day there's something that matters within that, you know, that time slot, whether it be your workout, your training, your prepping your food, or your you know, you're managing your mind at work, or your you know, you're sleeping, getting sleep, obviously very important. Whatever kind of, you know, time frame of the day it is, there's something that is challenging about that time of the day. So how do you kind of learn to accept that challenge, embrace that challenge, because it is going to be, for many people, you know, months of that.
Yeah, so my first prep and the prep I just got done with were two totally different things. The coach I have now, he's great. Actually, my first prep, I switched over to him the last 4 weeks. So I guess I wouldn't necessarily probably talk about this last prep because I had a full off season with my coach and I had a full prep with one coach. And you know, I work at a hospital this last prep, and they liked to, you know, do luncheons, and they like to bring donuts in the morning, or hey, I'm going downstairs to grab a candy. So that was like, some days I'm like, come on, people, this is not healthy. They were all very supportive. You know, they would always say, we don't know how you do it. We don't know how you do it. You know, sitting in the lunchroom, eating my chicken and rice, and everyone around me is eating whatever they want. But there comes a time when, you know, you get so used to it in prep. I mean, my routine was like clockwork. I'd wake up, I'd go do my fast cardio, I'd come home, I'd get my meal in, I'd pack my meals for the day, and I'd go to work. Having an office job was very difficult some days because I'm like, I need to get up and walk. Like, I can't just be sitting here letting all this water weight just consume me. Like, I have to get up and walk. And I'm like, but I have work to do. So that was difficult trying to find a balance. I made it work every lunch break. My meals towards the end weren't very big. It didn't take me very long to eat them. So I had extra time. So I would get my steps in, or, just the small things, like people who don't want to do prep, but they want to be healthier. I'm just like, take the stairs. You take the elevator every day because it's easy. I mean, take the stairs, eat your lunch, and go on a 5 to 10 minute walk. So I found ways to make it work. Like having an office job had its benefits and it had its doubts. The benefits would be I'm on a great schedule. I worked 9 to 4:30 every day. It was perfect. I had plenty of time in the morning. I had plenty of time when I got home. But definitely some challenges were just having all the food around me almost every single day. At points I had to tell myself, like, your goals aren't worth sacrificing for a donut. I mean, I always told myself the food's always going to be there. It's not going to go away. I'm not going to get done with my show and there be no food. So that was one way I kind of overcame that. I would just tell myself the food is going to be there. The food is going to be there. Another thing I would try and tell myself is like, okay, if you eat that donut today, what if that donut causes you to get second place? Because in bodybuilding, if you mess one single thing up when you're close to a show, if you're supposed to be on no carbs and you go eat a donut, well, that next morning when you check in, your coach is going to know. So I think definitely just having all of that around me and nobody kind of understanding was probably the most difficult thing I had to go through for sure.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Ready to take your supplements to the next level? 2NS is here to help. 2NS strives to help you attain the highest degree of health and performance. Combining cutting-edge science and the best from nature, 2NS gives fitness enthusiasts and athletes the fuel they need. Check them out at secondnaturesupplements.com.
Whenever you go through that first prep, and it's finally time to like get on stage, what kind of emotions are you experiencing? Is there any sense of kind of relief of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, we're here. Thank goodness. Obviously you still have to get on stage and perform, but like once you're actually on stage, I'm sure there was some anxiety as well, but like, was there a sense of relief at all?
I think because my first prep was so rocky, and I went through so much with what had happened the first 8 weeks. Finally getting on stage, I was like, thank God this is over. Like, today's the day. I get to eat after this. I get to do whatever I want. And then I got on stage, and I mean, yes, there were nerves. It's my first show, but coming off, I always tell people as soon as I came off stage, my first thought was, I'm doing this again. Rather it be in a couple months, rather it be in a year, I'm competing again. Because just the feeling of it kind of felt like the first time I played a huge state game in high school for softball. The lights, the crowd, all of it was just phenomenal. And so it kind of brought back that happiness that when I was an athlete growing up, it gave me that again. And I think it really, really put a spark under me to do even better for my next show. So there was a sense of relief. I was very excited to go eat after. I was very excited to be done with the prep, but there was also a fire lit under me that made me want more as well.
It's funny you mentioned softball because the last episode I just released with Megan Hayes, she actually played softball. I don't think she quite enjoyed it the way that you did, but how would you kind of compare those two experiences, of being on the field versus being on a stage?
Comparing it, I would say softball was more of a team thing. I knew that if I'd mess up, yes, I would let myself down. If I missed a practice, yes, I would let myself down. But I also would let other people down. Versus with bodybuilding, like, it's a lonely sport. Like, if you mess up, all of that's on you. But for the good part, to compare them, just the like adrenaline, being out on the field, just waiting to see what next play is going to happen, seeing who's going to show up at the next tournament, who's your competition next, who are you going to, be against, and how much better can you get from one game to the next. With bodybuilding, how much better can I get from one show to the next? You know, with softball, you had games all the time. Bodybuilding is kind of a longer stretch in between shows, but it's definitely about, you want to be better every time. I never wanted to step on the field and perform the same way that I did last year. I never wanted to step on the field and be the same player every single time. I always wanted to get better. And that's how I would compare it with bodybuilding. Like, bodybuilding is expensive, very expensive. Your financial has to be there, and you don't want to step on stage every year in a $500 to $700 bikini looking the same and placing the same. So I would definitely compare it that way, as you always want to get better. You don't want to step on the field, and you don't want to step on the stage being the same as the last time you were out there.
And obviously there's some big differences in softball, or really, you know, football, baseball, basketball, any of the kind of traditional sports, in the key sense that there's a scoreboard. You know that at the end of the game, you know who kind of won, for, you know, who, you know, or even in the middle of the game, you know who's winning. And at the end of the game, you know, if it's 5-4, you know who won, and you know why they won. Kind of different in bodybuilding, obviously, because it's a subjective sport, and you may feel like you were the best, or the person beside you may feel like they were the best, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, an opinion, not necessarily a hard fact. So, you know, how did you handle that? Was there any kind of was it hard at all to handle that idea of, I might put my best in, and even I might think I'm the best, but at the end of the day, it's not really up to me 100%?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell, when people ask me, I'm like, at the end of the day, if I know that I did every single thing right, and I know that I followed the plan that my coach gave me, and I showed up being my best, I'm happy. I'm happy with myself. Do I like to win? Absolutely. Everyone likes to win. That's just a fact. But I tell people, every show is different. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't know who's going to show up. You don't know who the head judge is going to be that day. And just knowing that, it gets difficult sometimes. But like I said, if I know that I've given everything I had, if I know that I did everything right, I do have a sense of like, yeah, I did my best. And maybe I thought I was better than the girl who beat me, but at the end of the day, the judges didn't think so. So I'm going to get their feedback, and I'm going to continue to do what the judges want to see and go for the next show. I mean, an example of that would be my first show. I placed second in both my classes. Was I bummed? Absolutely. I had people telling me, you looked great. Like, I think you got it. You looked great. I think you got it. I didn't. It's okay. The girl who won deserved to win if she won. And I mean, she won. There's no questioning that. I asked the judges what the feedback, and they wanted me to come in leaner. They wanted me to come in with fuller glutes. So I turned around and I asked my coach the day of the show, can I train tomorrow? Can I have my cheat meal tonight? And can I train tomorrow? Most people are like, I'm going to take a day off and get at it again Monday. Getting second just sucked. I mean, it was good because I looked 1.5 million times better than my first show, but I got second. I didn't want to get second. So I was in the gym the next day, and I hit glutes and hamstrings as hard as I could for 2 weeks. And I came in leaner, and I ended up getting first place the next show. The girl who beat me wasn't at that show, but there was great competition there. But I did what the judges said, and I did what my coach said. So at the end of the day, if I know I did everything right, I'm going to be satisfied with myself and take the feedback and continue to get better.
How would you kind of rate the community as far as like, hey, this is kind of my first show? How did they kind of take you in during, backstage? Like how would you feel, the energy was as a newbie?
It was great, honestly. I was nervous. Like you said, it's my first show. I don't know what's going on. I don't know when to line up or what, getting glazed was. I'm like, what are we doing? My first show, I met 2 girls backstage. They were great. It was their first show too. And, some people around us had been competing, and the atmosphere backstage is awesome. Everyone back there has put in hard work. You're not back there if you haven't put in hard work. So it's a very welcoming community, at least with my experiences. You know, I didn't have anybody who was like not welcoming or not like giving you compliments or not saying good luck or congratulations. Like even the girls who won or lost or whatever, like everyone was congratulating each other. Everyone knows how hard the work is to get to that point. So the community is awesome. Like when you find those people backstage that are so welcoming and, you know, telling you what to do and helping you, it makes the feeling even better of how far you've came. And I have not met anyone who hasn't been welcoming to this community, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool to kind of see from the outside looking in, at least, that it pretty much is a very supportive community, you know, the bodybuilding community, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's kind of you versus you. It doesn't, you know, matter if someone else, you know, it doesn't matter how hard they worked or how hard they didn't work or what they ate or what they didn't eat, because it doesn't really affect you, you know, and in a lot of ways it's a sport to where it's so challenging, I feel like, or it would be in my case, to be you know, to have that lonely road throughout pretty much all of the journey, even if, you know, you train with somebody every once in a while or whatever, to have this kind of lonely road. And then, but then you get that payoff of like, you get to be around so many great people who, like you said, put in all this work and all this effort and all that great energy. That's kind of what I got when I went to my first bodybuilding show. It was like, well, there's a different energy kind of in this room. You know, there's a difference. I mean, I really couldn't put it into words what it was. It just felt like there was some type of different energy about just like the people in that room, even the people who weren't competing, just the people who were there to support. Like everybody was putting off just something kind of special, a part of that bodybuilding show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, the first show I went to at Indiana Muscle, that like you said, it's hard to put into words, but that energy was there, and that gave me even more of a push to go through with it.
And so once you got past that first show, you know, you work really hard, you take first place at that next one. You know, how do you kind of keep that momentum going after you go from second to first? Obviously there's still room to grow, there's still room to improve and do, you know, keep, I guess, bodybuilding is a sport of kind of doing the same thing over and over again until you know, master it, and then you go just a little bit, you know, deeper and harder. But like, what motivates you? What drives you to keep pushing yourself and to keep putting yourself through kind of this like, it's almost like, from the outside looking in, it's almost like this twisted torture of like, I have to do this, I have to eat this. You know, what keeps you pushing to go through that?
Definitely the fact that I haven't gotten overall yet, you know, but everyone always says you're so hard on yourself. Like you've done 3 shows. You went from third place and fifth place in your first one to second, and then first in your classes. The last one I got first in my class, and I didn't come away with the overall. You know, the girl who won the overall, hands down, deserved to win the overall. I mean, she looked phenomenal. And I think what motivates me even more now is the feeling of competing for the overall was awesome. Like you're with every single first place girl in the classes, and now you're going for the big win. The feeling of competing for that was great, but I know the feeling of hearing my name as the overall winner will be an even greater feeling than what first place in my class felt like. That definitely keeps me going. I think another thing that really keeps me driven to do better is I know where I was before I started becoming healthy. I was a person who I did not like. I look back at pictures or I look back at memories and I'm like, dear God, I hope I never become that person again. You know, I just know that I've come a long way and I've come too far to take any steps backwards. You know, I told myself one of my biggest goals was to rebound a lot better after this show than the last. And I've definitely surpassed that goal. So just knowing that I'm meeting goal after goal keeps me going. I'm also a person who cares a lot about others. I don't like to let other people down. I've gained a lot of like people through social media who are like, you inspire me, like you're doing great, you keep me going, blah blah blah. Well, I don't want to be the person who stops and goes backwards, and then everyone's like, well, what happened to her? And I do it for myself. I'm not saying that I like necessarily care a bunch about what other people think, but if I'm helping people just through what I'm doing by helping myself, I want to be able to keep doing that. Do I lose motivation on days? Absolutely. I always tell people, there was a lot of motivation in the beginning. Now it's just discipline. Now it's just consistency and my routine. And that keeps me going. I like to have a routine. I don't like to switch things up a lot, and I have a routine now that I like. And during the off season, I get cheat meals. I get days where if I hit my quads or my glutes really hard, like I get an extra meal. And most of the time, if I don't make it at home, I feel awful. I'm like, well, now my stomach hurts and I wasted money. Like I would much rather just eat my meals. So I think it keeps me going because I like my routine. I like my meals. My coach is one of the best people out there, not even just coaching wise, but a friend and a motivator. So he keeps me going. My boyfriend, I mean, he has started to eat what I eat, and he has started to go to the gym every single day with me. He played baseball, so he knows what it's like to have, discipline and do that. So him and we definitely keep each other going for sure. So yeah, that's a lot of it, just keeping people proud and, still helping people through what I do. And I'm not going to go back to the person that I was because, my mental, physical, everything I'm doing now is great. And why would I want to go backwards?
Yeah. And I think, that's where a lot of people do struggle is they kind of get a little bit of progress and then something in their life happens and then, it sets them back and they kind of get in this revolving door of like one step forward, two steps back. What kind of advice would you have for young women who maybe want to get into better shape, maybe want to, not just physically, but also mentally, maybe want to get into this sport of bodybuilding?
Take it slow. Some people, I feel like they just go from one extreme to the next and they get burnt out really, really easy. If you even have a thought or idea of, like I need to get in better shape physically, mentally, whatever, make small goals and achieve them, and then make a little bit of a bigger goal and then achieve that and go that way. I was just in the gym. I was eating healthy, I used like a macro app or whatever, looked up healthier ideas, followed people that I inspired on Instagram. So definitely say start slow. Don't go from one extreme to the next. And, if you're thinking you want to get into bodybuilding and you go straight into it, find a coach and do your research. Don't make a mistake. I've been there where you just find someone and you just go for it and you don't do any research. You don't know anything about them. You just know they coach bodybuilding. And so you do that. So definitely do some researching before you decide, but outside of bodybuilding, just getting healthier, kind of what I mentioned earlier, like small goals, like stop taking the elevator. If you work at a place with an elevator, take the stairs every morning, make a goal of drinking however much water you think you can do, and then move your way up. On your lunch breaks, instead of wasting money on hospital food or fast food or whatever, like just take a little bit of time. I always meal prepped on Sundays. That was my thing. I know everyone doesn't work weekends, but on your day off, just take the time to meal prep, because then you avoid stress for the rest of the week. Like all you have to do is go to the fridge and grab your meal. And it doesn't have to be bodybuilding food. It doesn't have to be chicken and rice every day for lunch. There's a lot of healthier options out there, that you can eat if you're just into a healthy lifestyle. So I think, starting small, getting your step goals in, like taking the stairs, getting your water in, cutting out unnecessary sugars, maybe switch from, if you like to have a soda every day, well, maybe try diet. You'll get used to it eventually. It may not taste exactly like your regular Mountain Dew, but your regular Mountain Dew has 200 something wasteful calories. If you really need a soda that bad, just try the diet and see how it goes. You can add Neos in your water for flavor. You know, there's plenty of options out there. And I would say don't be afraid to reach out to people. I love when people message me and ask me questions. And if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer for you. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that who will be more than happy to answer your questions. My biggest advice as well is there are influencers out there on social media who look phenomenal, but all they do is make content and post that stuff. Like, they're getting paid a lot of money. Like, not everyone's like that. Like, I work every day. I have, a regular job. I have responsibilities and I still get it done. So that's another thing on social media. I try and be real. I try and tell people, like, I just got off at 9:30 from work, but I'm still going to the gym. I just feel like there's a lot of content out there where these people have a perfect day. And I just want people out there to know that if you work a regular job every day, you're fine. Like, you can still get it in. And I think there's a lot of misconception when it comes to that. So I just want people to know, like, small goals, yes, when you write them down, they may feel small, but when you achieve them, you just feel great. And then you want to keep going and going. So I think that would be my biggest advice. And then for young women, it's easier said than done, but just try to stop comparing yourself. I mean, you could be looking at someone on social media who has been living a healthy lifestyle and fitness religiously for 5 years. Well, you would never know that because they're not going to put, this is my 5th year doing it. So just focus on you and really, really do it for yourself, because at the end of the day, yes, you have family and friends and loved ones, but at the end of the day, like, you are for you. Like, you have to be able to do what makes you happy as well. So definitely start small, make those goals. Don't be afraid to reach out, for sure.
I think that's really good advice, and I really appreciate it. And also just appreciate you coming on here. It was really good to get to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Definitely. And before we head out, if you want to share your social medias and things like that, go ahead.
So my main page is Savannah McGee _ and this is really bad. I have a Sabs Fitness. It's in the bio of my regular Instagram. But yeah, those are my 2 accounts. My regular account is more like my everyday life and a little bit of gym stuff. And then my fitness, I've been trying to do better at posting on that as well. But yeah, don't be afraid to DM me. It's public account. So I'm always open for questions, or, even if you just need to talk about stuff fitness related, don't be afraid to reach out to me, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you.